Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and I welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have another interesting episode for you guys. But before we get into it, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 50,000 subs by the end of the year, so we'd really appreciate it if you helped us out. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. So as all of you guys know who've been following this channel for maybe the last few months, last few years, or whatever it is, y'all are fully aware that Kobe Bryant is my favorite player of all time. I never hid that. I'm one of the few people in media that has the courage to put Kobe Bryant in their top 5. And I'm unapologetic about it, right? I feel like a lot of people these days, or some people these days rather, I feel like they just don't have enough courage to give Kobe his props, especially on TV. The only people out there that you see actually give Kobe Bryant his just due are people, are former NBA players. Former NBA players have no problem giving Kobe Bryant his props, but usually the people that you see on maybe FS1 on ESPN, they're not going to do it, right? They're not going to do it because, I think corporate media forces you to say certain people. I think the kind of general consensus is, okay, you have to say LeBron, right? You're going to say LeBron and you're going to say Jordan. Why? Because we want to create this narrative. Now, I believe that there's some forces at work that kind of encourage this type of discussions on TV, because sometimes when you sit back and really scrutinize these debates, you're like, well, there's nothing really here to argue, right? We've done numerous videos on Jordan, and like at the end of the day, you rarely see anyone, really worth being mentioned in the same breath as Jordan. But if you turn on the TV every single day, you see these kind of manufactured arguments on TV, and to me, I think it's at this point it's become trite, and you can see through it, right? I think it's a pretty transparent argument, and that's why I'm very happy that I don't work for any of these corporate media conglomerates, because you won't be able to say what you really want to say. And I think it's one of the reasons that Iman Shumpert was so raw and straightforward on the Bootleg Kev podcast. You remember Iman Shumpert a few days ago, maybe less than a week ago, he was making a lot of headway, in the mainstream media because of what he said and how he said it, right? He was very straightforward, and you're never going to find somebody on TV like that, minus the cursing, right? Because you can be straightforward without cursing. You're not going to find somebody out there on TV talking about sports and really discussing that debate the way that Iman Shumpert was. He wasn't beating around the bush. He was very, very straightforward. And another person that's, a formerly retired NBA player that's also quite outspoken is Gilbert Arenas, right? Gilbert Arenas, I haven't seen him on any of the shows, maybe on ESPN or Fox FS1. I haven't seen him there, but he's been outspoken on the internet on different shows, football, sports, and other media outlets that he's been on when he's talking about basketball. And I was recently listening to a segment on Vlad TV where him and Vlad were having a discussion, and he was talking about Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, right? And he brought up a story. He told an interesting story about Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan that I think is pretty interesting, and I think is going to lend some perspective to the argument that I'm going to make. So before we go too far, take a listen to Gilbert Arenas telling this story, and then we're going to come back here and give you guys our thoughts.
Right, because there's a famous story you said about when Jordan and Kobe played each other. Mm-hmm. But you weren't actually on the team at the time.
No.
So how did you hear about the story?
Was it, so this would have been probably Luke Walton who told me the story.
Right. So according to you, when Jordan played Kobe, Jordan won. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the game, I guess Kobe was wearing some Jordan 8s. Uh-huh. And, Jordan smacked him on the butt and said, you can wear the shoes, but you'll never fill them.
Yeah.
And then what happened next?
Okay. What happened next? So what happened next is, so I guess during that time after Kobe didn't say anything to anybody. So for like 2 weeks, they said Kobe was just mute. Like he didn't talk to his players, didn't talk to his teammates, he said he was in like focus mode. Like it was straight, like practice was just so intense, right? So the players were like, yo, is he mad at us? Like, did we do something to him? Mm-hmm. And then it was like, Phil was like, no. Jordan told him when we played him, you can wear the shoes, but you can never fill them. And it was like, oh, when did we play them again? And it was like, yeah, we played them in a few days. Oh, yeah, so I'm not even going to stretch for that game because young fellas not passing us the ball. And that's the game Kobe had like 55 points.
55 points. Yeah, I mean, you call Kobe like a psycho in terms of the way that he really focuses on certain things.
Yeah, he is. But everyone at the top is.
Yeah.
You know, everyone at the top. You don't get to the top being normal. You don't get to the top thinking.
Now, in that story, I think there's a lot of truth and evidence, or the story that he gave. I think there's a lot of truth in what he said, right? And we have a lot of evidence for this. Kobe Bryant, from what I know and from the stories that I've heard about him, he was a guy that took things extremely personal. There are countless stories of Kobe Bryant going against competitors on the court, and guys would try to trash talk him, or a guy would have a good game. Hell, there are even stories of Kobe Bryant going at Gilbert Arenas, right? Gilbert Arenas, the guy that told the story, there's stories about Kobe Bryant basically, when Gilbert Arenas first came into the NBA, if you remember, he had an afro. And then he was like, Kobe Bryant was his favorite player. And then one of his friends saw Kobe Bryant, I think it was in Disneyland or Disney World. And it was like, my friend Kobe, blah, blah, blah. And Kobe Bryant, you mean that dude that can't come off the bench? And then Gilbert Arenas took it personally. I think he went to LA and dropped what was it? 60 points or so. 60 points on the Lakers. I think Kobe Bryant had 40 something. And then the next game they played in Washington, D.C., Kobe Bryant went at Gilbert Arenas. Kobe took things personal. You also remember the spat or the back and forth that he had with Mark Cuban. When Mark Cuban said the Lakers amnesty Kobe Bryant, then he had that big game in Dallas when he was sitting clutch shot after clutch shot. And at the end of the game, he tweeted out, I think, amnesty that to Mark Cuban. There was that. So there are many different stories of Kobe like this. And Michael Jordan was the exact same way. You need not look any further than the Last Dance documentary, or docuseries, whatever you want to call it. Jordan, if you remember, he took it personal, I think, when he was in a restaurant and George called in, shake his hand. He was like, okay, that's how it is. That's how you feel. You remember that. You remember the other instant when they gave Karl Malone the regular season MVP, and Jordan was like, okay, now I have to prove. If you're going to give him this, if you're going to give him that, I got to take the championship. I'm going to get the finals. Jordan and Kobe were just one of these people that always felt this need that they had to prove their doubters wrong. And they always had to prove that they were the top dog. That's just the type of personalities that they were. And Kobe Bryant embodied that, right? I mean, Kobe was just a guy that you didn't want to mess with, and he took things personal. He's not one of these guys you really want to trash talk on the court because his game is going to speak for you. He's not going to go up there like Ron Artest or, some other guy that will probably just, or Charles Oakley, one of these guys will go out there and try to rough it up or knuckle it up on the court. He's not going to do that, right? He's not going to fight you. What he would do is he's just going to embarrass you. He's going to drop 60 points in 3/4 on you. Jordan, I think at one point he even took it personal, or he took exception to the fact that when he was even being compared to Clyde Drexler, he thought it was an insult. Think about that. He thought it was an insult to be compared to Clyde Drexler, and he went out there in that game, I think it was in Portland, and I forgot how many threes he hit in the first half. It was like 4 or 5 or 6 threes. And it was just absurd. And there are countless stories like this. You can even think of Kobe and Shaq. Kobe hated the idea. He was disgusted with the idea of people feeling as if Shaq carried him to those 3 championships. So that's why he was like, okay, you got to get the hell up out of here, and I'm going to prove to you that this dude didn't carry me. And what did he do? He went on to win 2 championships without Shaq, right? People were saying Shaq carried him. Well, what about the other 2? Shaq didn't carry him for that. So because people were trying to say, no, Kobe can't win without Shaq. And he went on to win 2 other NBA championships and went to 3 consecutive finals. And this is one of the reasons I have 2 of these players in my top 5 all time. This is one of the reasons, and I think it's good that we get to hear kind of these kind of backstories or war stories from former NBA players, because it gives us fans and people in the media a lot of things to talk about, and I think it creates an interesting debate. So what I want to know from you guys is, number one, what do you think about the comments that Gilbert Arenas made? What do you think about that story about him and Jordan? Because, Kobe took it personal, Jordan did, and he went on and dropped 55 points on him. Y'all remember that game. What do you think about that? What do you think about the things that I said? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode.